3 dolphins in the 1960s were given LSD by this man, John Lilly, who would also take the drug himself and then try and communicate with the dolphins via some sort of underwater telephone. He also had an assistant who lived with the dolphins 24/7 in this apartment that was converted into an aquarium, and who regularly used her hand to satisfy its hormonal urges. Today, we all know that dolphins are super smart, and we all know that humans have yet to figure out how to really communicate with them. But in the 60s, these were new ideas and people loved to experiment with them. And the idea that psychedelics like LSD could actually make you smarter was a much more popular idea back then, before the whole war on drugs and public enemy number one campaigns were launched.
America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
And this man, John Lilly, combined those two passions of the 60s in a creative and weird way. He set up a dolphin aquarium in an apartment on the island of St. Thomas, and his assistant lived in the water apartment with the dolphin all day and all night and tried to train it to speak English. And these are actual recordings of some of their lessons.
Hello, Margaret. Nice. Hello. That's better.
Anyways, the experiments became super popular and ultimately were shut down, not just because of the LSD, but because the assistant who lived with the dolphin would regularly give it hand jobs. Yes, this really happened. And although it sounds really scandalous, the woman who administered the hand jobs did it purely to calm the dolphin down, who was technically a teenage boy. And it was reported in a way that made it seem like the woman had a sexual love affair with the dolphin or something like that. But it wasn't the case. The dolphin would get so distracted by its own hormones and horniness that they weren't able to effectively conduct these experiments. And so she would give it a quick hand job and then they'd carry on. It's not exactly ethical by today's standards, but things were different back then. And if I'm being totally honest, the exact same thing has happened to me and probably millions of other teenage boys.
TMI. TMI, my friends.
TMI? Too much information.
Dolphins are clearly extremely smart. Some people think that they are what advanced intelligence looks like without hands. Humans obviously have hands, and so we are constantly making and using tools. But it might be possible to be just as smart as a human, or even smarter, and not be a tool maker. And maybe dolphins are that animal. Dolphins are incredibly smart and creative in the way that they hunt, and they only spend something like 5% of their time actually hunting for food, aka working. How many humans are able to only spend 5% of their time working? And is it really more advanced to spend 90% of our waking hours selling insurance or trading fake digital money on the computer just so that we can afford a silver BMW or a shiny Rolex? Or is it actually smarter and more advanced to spend a little time every day working or finding food and then spending the remainder of the time with friends, family, and enjoying the world? Anyways, eventually the experiments ran out of funding and the dolphin and the assistant got separated. And after just a few weeks, the dolphin committed suicide by drowning itself. It's a sad ending to a sad story, but it is also another testament to how smart these animals really are. There's a Radiolab podcast where they interview the assistant, and it's linked below, and I highly recommend listening to it. She's clearly a very smart lady, and it's really interesting to hear the perspective of one of the most unique and earliest dolphin scientists in the history of the world. Okay, that's it. I'm going spearfishing.
Thank you.
Also, did I mention that NASA paid for all these experiments? Because they did.